What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. We have got a lot to cover today because even just an hour ago, we got the announcement that we all knew was going to happen. The Fed has once again decided to keep rates paused, but there were comments made during the press conference from Jerome Powell that are giving us a little bit of information about what could be happening in the next couple of meetings, and that rate cut that should push Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space to the moon could be coming sooner than you would think. But you got to stick around for the entire show to hear more about that. We also have a special guest joining us today that you guys are going to absolutely love, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. Before I introduce him, I want to introduce my co-host for the show, Mr. T. Shroom from down there in Gainesville, Florida. T. Shroom, how are you doing today?
Well, Tim, I'm doing better than I deserve. I really am, and it's actually been that way for a while now. Some folks may be picking up on a pattern of that. So let's go ahead and jump into the quote of the day because we got a lot to cover today. We got a special guest.
We got a lot.
Quote of the day: "A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on." Now, who said that? It was John F. Kennedy, JFK.
JFK. All right. Well, what a quote from a man that's absolutely applicable to. You know, still have a lot of discussions about things that he did. Love him or hate him, he had a massive impact on the future of not only the United States, but of the world.
That's right.
And his words still ring true today.
Absolutely.
T-Shroom,
yes.
We're going to get into the details here.
Yes,
but I'm going to go ahead. We're going to introduce the audience to our special guest. Some of you might have heard of him. Some of you maybe not, but you're going to know about him after today. Found out just minutes ago, he was the first crypto YouTuber, had a YouTube channel with over 290,000 subscribers, but he was the first one that was so radical talking about Bitcoin and crypto that YouTube kicked him off. He is now on his 5th YouTube channel because you cannot stop him. His name is Bitcoin Ben. First of all, Bitcoin Ben, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm loving life, brother. I'm in cryptos, not the big good things.
Yeah. Yeah, and we got the pleasure of getting to meet Ben down in Naples just a couple weeks ago when T-Shirt and I went to the conference, and there was a lot of great people there, but one of the most fascinating people was you, Ben. Like I getting to hear your take. I have a question to ask later on in the show about your thoughts of the future of Bitcoin price based off of what you've seen historically, but we're going to save that for later on in the show. But let's start off, T-Shroom. Let's get into the elephant in the room, the announcement from Jerome Powell. We have a paused rate, most likely insignificant for right now, but let's get into the details of that and discuss what the future looks like for Bitcoin price based off of what Jerome Powell said today behind the podium.
Absolutely, Tim. Well, really quickly, the most important thing that I can cover is honestly, we on the 9 a.m. show this morning, we talked about a specific phrase that if it was omitted was going to essentially eliminate the potential for future rate hikes. And that phrase was omitted. That was additional policy firming. Okay. That phrase was crossed off and was not used in this latest publication from the Federal Reserve. So that was the biggest thing I was looking out for. There was a lot of other stuff, but for the sake of time, we will talk about that probably tomorrow morning. Overall, the hikes are almost 100% over. It would take a very big spike in inflation in order for more hikes to come around. They have taken out the language necessary that the market was looking for. In other news, Ripple chairman Chris Larsen was hacked for a reported 213 million XRP, worth about $112.5 million. Not going to get into the details of that, but there are obviously some pretty intense implications that could be arising from that. Could even trickle down the price. Bankrupt FTX will not be restarting. Not that anybody actually thought that they would be, but this is very bullish news for people who had their money in FTX. The news has hit, and this is all over. It has been confirmed. Former customers will get their money back in full. Tim, we've yet to see it happen, but this is very big and very bullish news that potentially folks are going to be made whole. The JUP token is off to a good start. It got off without a hitch, and that is basically all systems go, and it's great for them. That's the leading DEX over there for Solana. And that's going to be it, Tim. We've flown through our news, and yeah.
Well, let's take it back. Let's take it back to the Fed rate, because that's what's on everyone's mind. It's going to kick off our conversation. I will say one of the most bullish things I saw. Go to my screen here. Ben Cowan, local expert here in the crypto space.
For sure.
He's just been tweeting like everything that's big, but this is the one that I think is pretty significant. Powell did say, and I know T-Shrim, you said you covered this morning what would need to be omitted. Well, what's better than just omitting a statement rather than making a statement that kind of confirms it? We believe, according to Powell, our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle.
Yep.
So while we still probably need to see a little more happen before we can say with 100% certainty that we're going to see rate cuts, Bitcoin price did just dip below 43,000, by the way, everybody. It does look like at this point, Jerome Powell is done raising rates, and this should have some massive bullish implications. But it's not just about what I think. Ben, I'm interested what you think about this. First of all, do you think that today's announcement, today's Fed rate meeting was really that important, or are you looking more to the future as being the big stuff people need to pay attention to?
I never listen to what they say. I watch what they do. The overnight repo rate and the other real actionable levers that they're using, that's what you should watch. What he said, I'm old enough to remember when you never heard a word out of any of these people. There was no, guidance. There wasn't a actual meeting every month. All they're doing is they are trying to control the markets through the illusion of influence that the government always uses. It's this idea of, here's our plans for the future. Well, then the future happens, and it's the complete opposite of what they said it will be. It isn't that they were wrong. It was that they had an agenda. The federal government is just a societal psyop, just a huge psyop. That's what a press conference is. These are not the droids you are looking for. It's the illusion that they want to create, that they put out. Right. It is exactly, people out in this lovely chat room, it is political theater. And the interest rate in reality is meaningless. It is absolutely meaningless what the interest rate is on paper. They could say, we're raising the interest rate to 22%.
Right.
Okay, good luck. No one's gonna care. Right? Because the real economy won't accept that interest rate. The interest rate is like you selling your 1986 Honda Civic that you think's worth $20,000 because it's a classic, but no one will buy it. It's all fake. It's all, they're trying to shift the illusion of the economy, because each of us, we perceive and live in our own economy. That's why you hear, well, technically we're in a depression, but we're not really in a depression. Well, you ask an everyday iron worker who's living paycheck to paycheck if we're in a recession. Hell, yes, we are. You ask a wealthy guy, it seems like a soft landing. It's everything is relative to the position of the individual. And what the government does is they give us this general smoke blown up our asses, excuse or reason or or hypothetical, and they go, that's reality. They throw it on a website. We all look at it and go, yeah, the charts are looking good. The charts are just the emotional temperature charted against an illusion that's put out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
A chart is only an emotional chart. It's because all of this is an illusion. Our dollars are illusions. Our currency is an illusion. Our our GDP is an illusion. This is all an illusion that the government uses to control the general public. So I don't care what the Fed says. They're criminals. They're psychopaths. They're evil.
Yeah.
They a system that was created to to have your labor value lose value over time.
Yeah. Well, so you're saying that you don't trust the U.S. government is what you're getting at?
That'd be correct. Yeah.
Love the pause.
I don't trust anyone who does trust
Yeah.
the federal government or any government.
That is a good point. That's a good point. Well, that kind of I think is a good segue into, again, that this is going to be really interesting. Ben spoke about this, everybody, down at the conference in Naples. You got to go again next year. Make sure you also guys go follow Ben. Again, you can't keep him down. He's been kicked off YouTube about as many times as I have fingers at this point on this hand, but he keeps coming back. But he had one of the most fascinating theories that Tishu and I have ever heard about what is currently happening right now with Bitcoin when it comes to the involvements of institutions like BlackRock and these other entities. Like he said, it's not just the government. Like, yeah, it's actually kind of easy to look at the government entities and not trust them. But you got to look at the other main figures, and that is the real power players, these institutions, these world-dominating figures that have this whole plan on how to steal your wealth. Ben, can you talk about this? This has a lot to do with what we saw back after the Great Depression. What are you seeing happening right now that happened almost 100 years ago the same way?
Absolutely. It's we are transitioning into the next evolution of technology, and the elites know it. It isn't something they can control. What really runs the world is everyday people. What the elites do is they control what the people value. That's why they have Hollywood. That's why they have the printer. That's why they have Washington, D.C. It's controlling the attention of the creation engine of the earth. And that's the people. That's how they lead industry, is they use the levels of education to lead the direction of the global productivity results of humans. So, and what they do is they pre-program us generationally to create the outcome they want. That's why all of us, we remember Star Wars, we remember, it's why we look back and go, oh, remember when we were kids and there was that movie that had something that looked like a flip phone or look like this, or they were communicating on Star Trek and had the little button you could target. That was pre-programming society to create the technology that they needed created, right? And the reason that is once you capture enough of the human imagination, the humans will create whatever we imagine. So if our imagination at a young age is actually captured with this idea of flying cars, we will build flying cars in the future, because it's each idea is a seed in the mind, and the mind is what it does is it takes a seed of an idea, then it calculates the probabilities and the changes necessary to create that seed of an idea. And if you control the population and the education centers and the manufacturing centers and the banking systems, and then you capture the imagination of the society that has all of those tools, you can create what you want using the seeds of idea that you plant in the youth.
I have a question there.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time or a society where there wasn't a class setting pulling the strings of those systems? Has there ever been a
Yeah.
truly free people?
Yes, prior to the invention of the telegraph.
The telegraph. Okay.
Well, actually, it kind of depends on what you consider a society, how large of a society. In the past, they used churches. In the past, they used writings, language. The English language was actually created so that they could manipulate the history of humans so that we wouldn't realize how magical we really are. Now we can go woo woo, brother, but that wasn't the question. The question is, we're rolling into the next evolution of monetary value, and that is actually Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It was created out of the imagination of the creative destruction paradigm of capitalism. And that what capitalism is it is the economy of nature. That's what Austrian economics is. Austrian economics is uh, the 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 economic monetary system used by humans that is the representation of nature, where you have a seed, you plant a seed in the ground. That seed, when you initially buy it, it isn't worth much, right? But you plant it into the ground and it absorbs energy, grows into a small tree, it's worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
You let that small tree grow a little bit more over time and energy absorbed, it has a higher value because you can build more things with it, right? And so capitalism is value added economics. Unlike Keynesianism, which is it's the equivalent of placing the value on the leaves of the tree and not the roots of the tree. The value isn't in the leaves, it's in the roots. So Keynesian economics would rather pick up all of the leaves and sell those as seeds, when they really have no value to us, unless, I guess we could eat them, but they're not very good.
Right.
When Austrian economics values the root and the energy absorption system of the tree.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I never heard that analogy about Keynesian economics before, but it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's the only things that work in this world are those things that are shaped out of nature. It's everything that doesn't align with nature. It doesn't work. It only hides symptoms and causes more problems. That's a problem with the healthcare system. Is the friggin' drug system? They give you all of these drugs with big, long, words of all these chemicals, and then they give you the this is going to make your nose bleed, your eye fall out, your ear might fly off, and for the rest of your life your penis won't work. But don't worry, that red little patch on your hand, that'll clear up for about 30% of the people.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
If you want to feel better, align yourself with nature. You want to feel worse? Don't.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Now I want to go into a little more, T-shirt. I don't know if you have a question. I'm going to keep it in similar thoughts, but kind of go back into some things we talked about down in Naples. Do you have a question before I get there, T-shirt?
Well, I was just going to say, when I'm hearing you talk, it almost makes me think that maybe Taylor Swift and this quarterback, maybe they didn't really fall in love.
It's a tight end. It's a tight end, but let's keep
That's all fake.
Well, but how could it be? Because I'm so dug in. I'm so passionate that I see the love in their eyes, right? But now when I hear you talk, it's almost like I guess the NFL does have something to gain by me believing in the fantasy. Man,
generational transition into fandom of the NFL.
Yeah, man, I never thought that sports could be used for something other than entertainment, and maybe there's more institutions that I pay attention to that are actually trying to that actually have incentives and have interests. Wow, I have a whole new way of thinking now.
Why would they keep on showing her on the screen? She's not relevant to the game.
Yeah. I guess
you don't have to tell me, man.
Maybe there's some yeah. Well, there's a lot that we could unpack there, but definitely.
Well, you show what you want the audience to see.
It's true,
right?
True.
And all the drama between her and him, that's bringing, because who's the number one person on tour right now? Her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at all of the owners of the NFL. Look at what else they own. They own all of the sound studios. They own all of the entertainment industries. All they're doing is they're setting up the NFL as a crossover from the most attractive, right, from the most popular, profitable person in entertainment into another one of their companies using this situation.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of places we go down there. I mean, yeah, it's. I think Ben, you're not wrong at all. The psyop there of what's happening. I mean, first of all, she's dating Travis Kelce, who what is something Travis Kelce has been named this year. You know, he's a great tight end. He's going to go down in history of the NFL as being one of the greatest tight ends of all time. But he got a name from one of my favorite players in the NFL because of how much truth he speaks, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has deemed him Mr. Pfizer. Travis Kelce is easily the most popular NFL player right now because he's dating Taylor Swift, which has nothing to do with football. And then, of course, he's now the face of Pfizer, going on all their commercials, trying to promote people continuing to get that needle stuck in them.
He's, and I hate to say this, but he's an opportunist athlete. He's not smart, which is okay.
Right.
He has natural instincts that allows him to run at a certain speed that he can. He has the type of brain that can calculate movement through the air that allows him to actually catch little pieces of leather at a surprisingly more accurate level than the general population.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the dream right there. That's the American dream, catching pieces of leather.
And how I can prove that, look at all of the ads he's in. He's in every other ad. Well, and that's only been since he's actually been dating her. He's not intelligent, but his agent is.
Oh, that's true.
I think it goes far beyond his agent.
Right. Hit while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back. This is a great conversation that we could probably continue to go down for quite a while, but let's bring it back into crypto. Now, down in Naples, because again, this actually, it's funny. When we talked about this, I actually was going a different direction. This is just more evidence that you guys need to be subscribed to Ben's channel because he's got so many great rabbit trails we go down. The part that I found interesting and I want our audience to hear about is you discussed after the Great Depression, the entities like BlackRock, JP Morgan, and others, they chose a particular sect of stocks that at the time weren't necessarily the go-to. It was almost like a great reset of the entire economic system that they put forth. They chose those. And of course, now a lot of those are the ones we call they make up a part of the Fantastic Seven. They make a part of some of the biggest investments in the world. We're going through a phase right now. You talked about how we're going through a phase where we're resetting it once again, and Bitcoin is looking like it's their next choice. Can you go into more detail about that?
Absolutely. I'm sorry we kind of spoiled up.
Oh no, that was my fault.
That conversation was awesome.
That was my fault.
Yeah, and this happens with every currency evolution we've ever had. Right? Humans actually base their currencies off of the lowest form of production at the time. During the Iron Ages, we valued gold and silver. Right now, as we have moved into a more digital age, and 1973. What people don't realize about 1973 is 1971 and 1970. Those were the first year where the lowest form of production, but the highest amount of productivity shifted from the metal to the plastics. So we were using more petroleum products as a globe than we were using iron and copper and all that. That's why they shifted off of gold and silver and all of the metals onto the petroleum, also known as the petrodollar, because at that point, the lowest form of production at the highest rate of productivity was petroleum. So that was the commodity that backed all of the currencies through the petrodollar. Now we're at the next transition in that, which is now most of the world economy is actually based on pure energy.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, we're not using petroleum as much as we used to. Now most of our products are digital or digital or digitally transacted. Email, uh, Zoom calls, uh, entertainment. We're not driving over to the movie theater. We're watching it on Netflix at home. Right? So the number one product of humanity right now is pure energy, and it's the lowest form of it, the lowest form of of production used at the highest level of production is pure energy now, which is why we're transitioning out of the petrodollar into the digital currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the federal government thought what they could do is implement something like in the 1920s. 2023 was the 1929 of our era, where they wiped out all of the companies they didn't control,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pushing the companies they do control, which is why I kind of went off on Swan. All right. Swan is one of the companies they're pushing for the new takeover of the digital economy, the
Yeah.
digital currency economy.
It was interesting because I remember when you talked about this at the conference, on the stage with you was somebody from Swan.
Yeah, fuck him. You know, I
Oh gosh,
I
that was
don't
one of the
give
best
a
parts of
shit
the
what he
conference.
thinks.
Yeah,
He and I don't blame him.
right.
He's an elite.
Yeah.
You know, elites do elite shit. Elites are mostly
Mm,
heartless, unsympathetic to the average worker because
yeah.
they don't see us as people. They see us they see us as means of production. That's why we're called human resources and not, hey Bob, come into the office for a second.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
that's what we got to get away from is giving a fuck what people think, especially when they're in our face.
All
You
right,
know,
so
Hey.
I have a question. It was characterized months ago. I can't remember the media outlet that put this out, but there was a headline: Bloomberg, sorry, BlackRock swallows Bitcoin into their system, right? And I think that that's an interesting characterization. It's almost like Greek mythology type of language. It's pretty good. So when I was listening
it's
to what you were saying, I see some parallels there. So now that Bitcoin is swallowed into the establishment and is being digested. I don't know what's going on within the the BlackRock stomach, so to speak. But what is next? Is Bitcoin ultimately going to be dissolved and destroyed, or what? What happens to Bitcoin now?
Good question.
it is the next global. It's the last global currency of humanity. We're never going to transition out of uh, the usage of Bitcoin. It, there's no reason to, because you can't get any more efficient than pure energy.
No,
Right?
Ben, I got a. Oh, I don't. Maybe if you have more on the answer, finish that answer, and then I have a question based on
Yeah,
this.
it's humans have reached the point where we are at the last phase of the humanoid evolution of this planet, where the planet is at the center of our existence. We're out. I won't say we're outgrowing the planet. We are breaking the limitations of the planet.
Okay.
So now we need a currency that isn't limited to the planet. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's when let's say you're living on Mars, which is not going to be that far from now. It's actually Mars is a lot more habitable than they've told you. We're going to be living on Mars here not too long, folks. And if you owe somebody $1 on Earth and you're on Mars, and the SWIFT system ain't going to work. You know, you're going to need something. You're going to need Bitcoin because it's provable. It's uncorruptible blockchain. And what the elite know is that right now, and this is why my show is strictly about getting the little guys in. I own a club in Sarasota, Florida. I'm opening another one up in Nashville next month.
Cool.
Right? The only goal of the clubs is to educate the general public, the common man, the common woman, on what's coming. The elites, the Black Rocks, now they are collecting up all of the Bitcoin so that they control the future monetary unit that is going to value and hold the value of the productivity of Earth. Right? Because now Earth ain't going to be it. Yep. Yep, that's our club.
Cool.
That's actually where I'm at right now.
That's pretty cool.
All right. And what they know is they're elites. It's their job to run the system. So they wipe out Binance. They slap the shit out of Kraken. You know, they buy fucking Coinbase. Anyone who is corruptible or viable, they like. Anyone who tells them to fuck off, they must destroy. You know, and I'm sick of this shit. Let's start hitting back. So if you got a guy from Swan sitting right next to you, look at him and tell him to fuck off. You're the problem.
And I can tell you guys right now, no endorsement, if you have not subscribed, I keep putting the link in here. Go subscribe to Ben's channel. I can tell you guys, I was in the room with him and he literally did this. I love Ben. Ben is fearless. This has been great. Now, the conversation we're having here, this was actually, I'm glad I waited because you kind of got me into a great segue for my question, because this is something we talked about on our channel about a week ago, a concern about Bitcoin's future that you started to somewhat get into there. And I'm interested in your opinion on how we protect Bitcoin from this problem. So right now, of course, we have the massive amount of Bitcoin that Satoshi owns, and we don't know who Satoshi is or anything, but that Bitcoin more than likely is never going to see the light of day ever again. So it's almost like, we start with 21 million Bitcoin, but then you got to remove everything Satoshi has. Then you start looking at large holders like the Michael Saylors of the world, who understands the inherent value of Bitcoin. More than likely, he will never sell Bitcoin. He'll just always use it as financial leverage to borrow and to continue to make wealth. So now you have that Bitcoin coming off the table. And I think more whales are following him. I think I saw an article a couple of months ago that in reality, we're talking about somewhere between 3 to 5 million Bitcoin is literally all there is in circulation, and might be all that there will be for those of us common men, common women to scoop up. But now with the recent ETFs coming in, of course, we're going to have the BlackRocks and the Fidelities and the other entities trying to scoop up and manipulate the common man into selling every single Bitcoin. And my fear, Ben, and my concern is there might become a day where the only way to be invested in Bitcoin is to buy an ETF because there's no more circulating Bitcoin up for sale to actually buy a Bitcoin, get it on a cold wallet, and actually hold the keys. What is your thoughts about that? Is there something at play right now that is going to prevent that? Is that a concern you have as well? What are your thoughts about the future circulating supply of actual Bitcoin?
This is the genius of not even really Satoshi, just the idea of centralized versus decentralized.
Okay.
Right? The reason that will never happen is because anybody can create it. Anyone can mine it.
Okay.
And everyone has their own agenda. So there will always actually be miners that will not sell to BlackRock. They will say, F you motherfuckers, we know what you're doing. Fuck off. I'm not selling to you. And there's a lot of us old time crypto people that are just going to tell BlackRock, kiss my ever loving cracker ass. You ain't getting nothing from me. You know, it's some of us, it's not about the money, it's about the mission. And that's where they're at. All right, BlackRock's not thinking short term. BlackRock is thinking 50, 100 years in advance. Right? It's but what they've done is they've trapped people in this paycheck to paycheck, rat race where we can't really plan for hell next year.
Oh yeah.
And so while they're all rich and happy and all elite and shit that needs eating, we're all down here just trying to feed ourselves, trying to, you know, keep our job, keep our heads above the water with inflation and all this. And why? And I hate bringing in politics, but why is it that inflation under Trump, no problem, inflation under the elites, oh well, shit. Now all of a sudden we got inflation. They use the results of their system to hurt us into a hurt, HURT, hurt us into submission for more of their system. And that is the criminality, that is the evilness of their system. The financial system we've been living under, the Keynesian 1913, actually before that 1859. But this system, it isn't a good idea gone awry. It's a bad system because it's a bad system. It was made to be bad. Right? So they create this system. They create this economy built on war that is strictly only made to grow the government. What has happened over the last 120 years is they've shifted the productivity out of the control of the individual's hands into the government's hands. That's why so many people are like, well, is the government spending money? If the government's spending money, we're going to fucking be okay. Right. No, that's not how an economy works. And yes, average crypto Joe, I am an angry grandpa. I'm not a grandpa yet, but I'm 48. I look like I'm 60 because I've been in cryptos for so damn long and got the hell beat out of me. I look my age, you know. But luckily, my wife, she still thinks I'm sexy
There
as
we
long as
go.
I keep her
Yeah.
drunk.
Perfect. That's the perfect
That
balance.
is awesome. You know, T-Shirt, I kind of think like we might just fit out the show with Ben. I love having Ben on here. Clearly, our audience loves Ben. I'm seeing so many people in the comments say that they are now subscribing. They say Ben is the guy that, let's see, Dylan Martinez, this guy is the guy who makes you realize the conspiracy is actually true.
Yeah,
I love it.
it just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Right, right.
No, it's
Yeah,
it. Once you look at the illusion, it's obvious. Right? You switch on MSNBC
yeah,
right now, and everyone's talking about the Fed. What the Fed say? What are the Fed? The Fed. Well, all right, SEC, Gary. I got some chosen words for your little skinny ass. Uh, is it your job to protect the average investor? Well, go arrest the all of the people at the Fed.
yeah,
Yes. What is their job? To manipulate the global market
yeah,
using securities.
yeah,
Right? The only thing that gives the dollar value is the dollar's existence. So, who's issuing the most unsecured security in the world? The printing press at the fucking Federal Reserve.
mm,
That is solely reliant on the labor of the printing press to create it. So it definitely doesn't pass the Howey test.
yeah.
It does actually pass the Howey test. You
How
know,
does
it's
that fit into the monopoly on violence? Because that kind of comes to mind because at the very core, they are able to print force. They're able to print things that incentivize human beings to do things, right? So the government has a monopoly on violence, right? They're the only ones
they
that
have
are.
the illusion of the the illusion of authority using force.
Mm-hmm.
All right? No, no,
It's
no,
like
no.
the concept of the farmer with the small whip to a bull. The bull could kill that farmer at any moment it wanted to, but he's been trained in fear to respond
Loud
just a small piece
noises.
of leather. Yeah.
Yep,
So
loud noises, and
Yeah.
that's all the government is a bunch of loudmouth, limp-wristed pussies who 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 are yelling real loud. Well, any guy who's ever been in a fight, you you don't hit the talker, you hit the quiet one, cause that's the bad motherfucker. It ain't the dude jawing. It's the
gotcha.
dude that ain't said shit to you that's
Yeah.
about to mess you up.
Hmm.
That's practical on many levels. I like that.
That's good.
It's
I have so many questions, Ben. I mean, I'm gonna ask one more question on this topic. We're gonna do our factoid of the day late in the show, and then I'm gonna ask another question afterwards. But we're gonna have to get you on again soon because I have probably 1,000 more questions for you because this has been awesome. The question before we get to our factoid of the day, and we'll explain that to you. You probably have no idea what that is. It's just our fun little, it's supposed to be mid-roll kind of thing, but it's so late in the show, it's not really middle. Um, I love what you said about the illusion aspect. Completely agree with it, but the price of Bitcoin will still respond to the Fed's movements. So even though I agree with you 100% that the Fed rate decisions really are illusions based off what they're really doing behind the scenes. Jerome Powell's been saying he's not going to lower interest rates yet. He continues to hold off and act like we're just going to stay paused here at 5.5 for a long time. In your opinion, or maybe you don't care, and then that could be your answer, but in your opinion, when do you think they move the illusion to manipulate price by lowering interest rates? Because I would assume Bitcoin's going to spike in price when they pivot and go to lower interest rates, and then the value of the dollar goes. What's your opinion on that?
um, I don't have an opinion. I
Okay.
have a fact
Okay.
that there's only 21 million Bitcoin, baby. They know what's coming. This is not going to be a slow rise. This is going to rip your fucking face off on one fucking day that Bitcoin's going to skyrocket, because that's the only way they transition. They cannot have a gradual transition and keep control of the system. It's why in 1938 or 34, why they outlawed gold. They collected up every dumbass that was willing to give them their gold, and then the next day they repriced gold.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to do with Bitcoin. It's just going to be, and it's coming soon to a chart near you, folks, that Bitcoin is going to go from 48,000 to 200,000 in 2 days. And good old reliable Coinbase is going to shut down. You know,
it's gonna pause, and no one can buy or sell, or
Yep. And because all of this BlackRock and moving the Bitcoin from grayscale over to BlackRock, and this is all just coiling the spring of the Bitcoin. All right. But what's going to happen is the blockchain of Bitcoin is going to pop that spring. And when it does, it ain't going to jump $1,000. It ain't going to jump 10,000. It's going to reprice in a short period of time. Once they're going to do this as long as the coil holds, which, according to friends of mine at Chainalysis and all of these other entities that study the blockchain, don't look at exchange value, look at blockchain value. Look at the hash rate. You want to see the future chart of Bitcoin? Look at the hash rate chart of Bitcoin. The hash rate has gone up. Now, I have friends who are expert miners. I mean, these sons of bitches, they run miners that look like lines of football fields. The hash rate is an energy level chart that is mathematically equatable to the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, if it was in a naturally flowing environment, Bitcoin's price would be about $250,000 per Bitcoin, going off the hash rate. Right? This coil, the hash rate is the tension measuring device of the Bitcoin, because that hash rate is equivalent to the cost of producing the Bitcoin. And the miners are not going to allow the price this low when the hash rate, the cost of production, is that high. They know it. And that's why miners are taking out loans. They're not selling Bitcoin. Hell no. They're looking at this hash rate and going, damn, when this pops, it's going to go, and it's going to go crazy.
Wow.
I'm telling you, folks,
wow.
hodl your Bitcoin. And I mean, literally, once a week, if you get paid once a week, shit, put $5. No, put $10. Whatever you can afford. Hell, if you got a friend that you don't like very much, see if there's anyone who wants him knocked off. Just see what kind of money you can get.
I'm starting to see why you're on your 5th YouTube channel here, Ben.
hey, a 20's a 20, brother.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
$20. Oh,
$20 is $20. Well,
I think we got to get our factoid of the day, and then I have one more question for Ben. We're gonna run a little long here today, probably 4 minutes or so. Teacher room, does the elf have a factoid for us today? I cannot wait to hear Ben's answer to it.
Absolutely,
this is good stuff.
The factoid of the day,
$20 is $20,
which is brought to you by Decrypted.taxes. Folks, we all love the government, so you got to pay taxes, and there's no better way to do that than through Decrypted.tax. All right, sworn into office on September 11th, 1789. Who was the first Secretary of the U.S. Treasury? Was it A, Alexander Hamilton, B?
Hamilton.
Okay.
Listen,
Tim, what do you think?
I do not. I don't want to disagree with Ben for a couple reasons. First of all, he's very intelligent. Second of all, he might sell me so he can buy some more Bitcoin at these low levels.
Hey, brother, how much you worth?
How many kidneys do you still have, Tim? That's the real question.
That's the real question right there. I'm going to say A as well. I was leaning there. For me, it was either A or D, but I'm going to go with A because Ben seems so confident. What do we got?
It's Alexander Hamilton.
We're safe.
The department was established by an act of Congress in 1789 to manage government revenue. The first Secretary of the Treasury was Alexander Hamilton, who was sworn into office on September 11th, 1789. Hamilton was appointed by George Washington on the recommendation of Robert Morris. Is that the same? No, that's a different name. Cool. There we go. Factoid of the day accomplished.
I love history. I am a history nut, especially American history.
There we go. Well, I got a really strange question for you on the outro here, Ben. And again, we need to get him back on very, very soon because this has been one of my favorite episodes we have shot here on Investing Bros. Bitcoin obviously is, your Bitcoin bet. It's right in the name. You love Bitcoin. I know a lot of people, of course, they love other altcoins. There's lots of altcoins out there that, especially if you're a friend of decentralization, you hate. Is there any altcoin that you actually really do like and you think is a good pairing with Bitcoin to hold that you would say is a hold of yours you would recommend to people?
Yeah, that would be Litecoin.
Litecoin, okay.
Yep. People don't understand what Litecoin is. They don't understand how humans are gonna evolve, but they're not gonna change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Number one coin out there is the one and only Bitcoin. Right.
Got it right there.
The most undervalued cryptocurrency in the world is Litecoin because it has what is called segregated witness. Right? Segregated witness is a technology that allows it to run and actually do an atomic swap on the Lightning Network with actual Bitcoin. It's the only other cryptocurrency that works on the Lightning Network. And the reason that no one ever talks about Litecoin is because the elites know what Litecoin is. Litecoin is the people's coin. That's and I'll give you an example of how I know this to be a fact. I was at the very first Litecoin summit ever.
Okay.
It was in San Francisco. I was one of the people. There was maybe 600 people at this conference. Most of them there to see me, ironically. But who else was there? Who handed an award to Charlie Lee? Do you know the history of Charlie Lee?
I know Charlie Lee's been involved in a lot of crypto creation, so a lot of them pretty corrupt. But no, I don't know the full history.
Right. Charlie Lee is the
exchanges.
creator.
Sorry, he created a lot of exchanges. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Charlie Lee is the creator of Litecoin.
Okay.
Right. Charlie Lee initially worked at Google. Charlie Lee left Google to work for Coinbase.
Okay.
Right. Charlie Lee has a brother. Right. His brother ran the very first exchange in China ever for cryptocurrencies. Right. Charlie Lee is going to be realized to be one of the most important people in blockchain history. While I was at the first ever Litecoin Summit, the United Nations gave Charlie Lee an award. All right, now mind you, this is the early days of cryptos. This is nobody but a few nerds on the internet knew what Litecoin was. No, hardly anybody knew of anything with Litecoin. But the UN is giving them an award. There's a whole plan out there, folks, and you're either on it or you're not. But the key, and who else was there? Who else was at the first ever Litecoin Summit that hardly anybody went to? The CEO of the Lightning Network was there. She gave a presentation explaining segregated witness, how Litecoin is going to be the test bed of segregated witness for Bitcoin, and how, yep, that's her. I had drinks with her at the bar at the hotel right next door to the Litecoin Summit.
What was her drink of choice? Do you remember?
I don't know, but damn, that woman's tall.
How tall is she?
She's tall because she'll be the one that gets the lightning, right? She attracts the lightning.
Oh, okay. So she's a lightning. That makes sense.
Put it this way, she's tall and skinny. I'm 6'2". I weigh 280 pounds. And this woman was about as tall as me, but had like arms that resembled like noodles or something. It didn't look human. For those of you, do not go to my YouTube channel. If you want to see a boring, Bitcoin Ben, that'd be where you go. I have a link up I sent you guys over here in our private chat. Use that link. That's where you get my private server information. That's where I post all of my videos, all of my interviews, all of everything goes there. So that's where you want to go.
Okay.
Good to know. Yeah, we'll make sure to get that posted here later on.
I think we'll probably post that in our Discord. Just so and folks can access it there. We'll put it in the general chat so that you don't have to be a paid member of the Discord to get access to that. Yep. Wow, what an episode.
This has been great.
You ain't seen shit. Wait until you watch one of my woo-woo shows on frequency and the reality of reality and history.
Yeah.
I'm not only fat, I'm deep.
All right. It
I like
is.
it.
It is 4:05. We're gonna have to call it for today, but this has been fantastic. Ben, I have been seeing throughout the chat just never-ending questions from our community. So, community members asking questions, go follow him on YouTube. Join our Discord to get that link he's talking about, so you can go see the uncensored stuff, the stuff that's made of getting you kicked off of YouTube. That's the good stuff right there. But also, Ben, I mean, we're gonna have to get you back on in like a week or two. Just even if it's just Q&A with Ben. I think that our community would absolutely love that. You have been an absolute blast. It has been an honor to have you on here. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you again here maybe in a couple weeks.
Hey, reach out whenever you need me. Just
awesome.
let me know.
Awesome. Well, for everybody else, thank you so much for being here. If you have not already, smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button as well to get everything you need to know about Bitcoin and crypto and the news, the TA, and these great interviews with people like Bitcoin Ben. With that said, you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, catch a word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.